Hello and welcome to yet another week of the Stadium Experience. I'm Jake Elmslie. Jordan Moment here alongside me. And you know, Jordan, it's another week. We're getting to the very end of August here. This episode will be getting posted on the first day of September, one of the greatest months in the history of human achievement, if you ask me. It's a good time for all my fellow Virgos out there in the world.
Damn, Virgo season begins.
Oh, Virgo season begins, Jordan. You know, it gets to the root of most of my astrology takes, which are Virgo season starts in September. No, it actually starts in August, I think. But, you know,
technically would have started last week, or
yeah. So I'm already knee deep in it, actually. So it would explain why I've been feeling so jubilant and powerful lately. Well, I've been feeling I'm kind of at the top of my mountain, but
that is what Virgos are.
Oh yeah, baby. Mountain climbers, primarily, I think.
No, you are such a Virgo.
You know, it's what can I tell you? You know, it's my rising. Is that the main one?
Your main one's sun.
You know, I gotta remember, Jordan. I do remember not to get into. I have one more astrology take. One of my so I. As a gentleman who's not overly, we'll call it astrologically inclined, such as you, Jordan. I'll tell you this, such as you. I do, for the sake of conversation with a certain, we'll call it a certain sort of individual who are more astrologically inclined, I like to have the information on standby. So I keep, and this is not sponsored, by the way. Maybe we should get them to get us a sponsorship after this. I do keep the CoStar app downloaded on my phone. It has my birth chart, lets you plug it in. So sometimes, you know, if I'm out and about and just a certain nondescript type of individual who I just, in a very businesslike way, am open to showing my birth chart, I can pull it out. One time, Jordan, like maybe a year ago, I pulled the app out. And what do I see in my notifications? Not knowing that you can get notifications on this CoStar app, I see a friend request from Jordan Moment. Which I learned that you can have friend. This is Jordan, who I believe did not follow me on Twitter at the time, who doesn't have a Facebook, who you have a social media presence, my friend, and everybody should go follow you, but doesn't interact with me all that much on the socials, found me and tried to friend request me on CoStar. To which I said, no, thank you. I don't have this app for the boys.
I did it specifically because it would be funny.
You could have sent that friend request 4 years ago and I wouldn't have noticed it. I maybe open this app like once every 3 months. But I opened it and I was like, Jordan, it was like 1 a.m. and I was just talking to some person at a bar and I was like, I can't talk to you right now. I need to just figure this out. I'm done. I have a new thing to focus on. And I was like, how did he friend request me? How can you do I have an account on CoStar? It consumed like the next half an hour of my life. I like left the bar. I think I called you. I was trying to figure this out. I was so confused by this.
Oh yeah, those are good. Yeah,
that was good. That was the best Jordan Moment goofs of all time. One of your better gags. But yeah, dude, I was flat. Anyway, so if you ever download CoStar, you know, maybe all the followers of the show, all the fans, everybody should make CoStar accounts. So we'll kind of use that as a new platform for disseminating hot sports takes.
Exactly. Shout out to all my Capricorn moons and Leo risings. That is unironically my signs.
That's
good.
Wow, you got 2. You know, I only know 1. That's pretty good.
I know I'm a Taurus. I know my moon's Capricorn. I know my rising is Leo.
But yeah. So anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on from the stars in the sky to the stars on the field. Jordan.
Oh, that was foul.
Yeah, I like that. But before we move on to them, we're going to talk about the players on the New England Patriots instead. So 53-man rosters are out, which is not something I think a lot of people wholly care about unless you are deep in the weeds of it. I read projections. I love reading roster projections like at the start of camp. I love reading roster projection 1.0s, 1.5s, 2.0s. I want to have a job one day where I'm the guy who gets to write the roster projections, Jordan. Would love it. Love it. Love it. I'm all into it. And I'm only into it for the Patriots. Like, I talk about this too. Like nobody, whomever is out there who can truly handle like that many moving parts for every team in the league, it's a level I aspire to get to. It's some training I have to do. But 53-man roster for the Patriots is out, and no real overwhelming surprises. I mean, I'll go down it like really quickly and tell you if there's anything super interesting, but all 3 QBs made it. Mack, Hoyer, and Zappi made it. The 4 running backs who also one would maybe expect. I mean, J.J. Taylor didn't make the team, but you have Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Ty Montgomery, who's making the roster so they can short-term IR him. Just Tyquan Thornton also made the roster for the same reason. So those 2 are just going to get IR'd any day now. I think Ty Montgomery's only going to miss a couple of weeks, but either way, so somebody I assume is going to be getting called up to take both of their spots. But Ty Montgomery, Pierre Strong, all 5 wide receivers that we've talked about. We kind of maybe started entertaining some trade ideas, but after Tyquan Thornton went down, at least I am not into that. But Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne all made the roster. Thornton's on it for now, but he's going to go to IR, which I assume the spot will end up getting filmed by like a Trey Nixon or a little Jordan Humphrey, at least for 8 weeks, which good for them. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, which we will talk about. The 2 other individuals who maybe could have had a 3rd spot there. We're going to talk about them in a bit. We're gonna exercise some demons. But, the O-line, Trent, the 5 guys who've been starting all camp, Haran, Yadni Kajus, Jason Hines, who I believe was a rookie, but he has made the team. So good for him. Yes, a 6th-round pick out of the Patriots. He's made the team. The D-line, you had, again, Godchow made it, Barmore made it, Lawrence Guy, Dietrich Wise, Sam Roberts, another rookie, big dude I've heard some good things about Sam Roberts, 6'5", 295. Big guy in there on the middle. Carl Davis made the roster as well. Then in linebackers, Judon Jennings, Juwan Bentley, Roquan McMillan, Mac Jr., Jelani Tavai, who Bill Belichick has had a lot of good stuff to say about. Uche, DeMarcus Mitchell, and on the linebackers, again, I'm kind of just doing like my quick hits just to get through it. But Cameron McGrone did not make the team, who was a guy I was kind of hoping would be a contributor this year. As some of you could maybe add some speed to the linebacker core, but that draft pick, quite like the draft pick of Ronnie Perkins, who I also thought, maybe as a pick last year, who basically got redshirted, might be able to contribute a little bit on IR. So I was off on those. I was hoping maybe they'd be able to salvage something out of those picks, but so far not anything. But they got him onto the practice squad, and then corner is probably where the most movement has happened through camp. Jalen Mills, Jonathan Jones, Miles Bryant made it. Sean Wade as well. And then both the Joneses, Jack Jones and Marcus Jones, I believe their 3rd and their 4th round pick in the most recent draft, both made it, who have both been probably like maybe the brightest spots of camp, have both been maybe like the best stories. Like every week I've kind of come out here and just been like, the offense has looked really bad. The defense hasn't looked good in a lot of spots, but Marcus and Jack Jones, let me tell you, been reading nothing but good things about them. But Terrence Mitchell did not make the team. He's apparently made the practice squad, but he's not there. Malcolm Butler also IR'd, and then they had an injury settlement with him, so he's just gone. Malcolm Butler's gone again into the wind. We're never going to find out what happened in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. But until somebody dies or somebody gets fired, and I will be right there. Again, I am. One day, I'm telling you. But
this is your flu game.
Oh, it's not my flu game. Like, who cares about the flu game? Oh no, nothing. I know what happened in the flu game. Everybody knows what happened in the flu game. I've heard things about the Malcolm Butler thing that I won't say on. That I'm not going to say on recording. I've heard some rumors that are way too unsubstantiated, but so crazy that I don't want to say them without having like my own source, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're genuinely in this range of like they're insane, but I heard them on good merit, but I can't say it. But anyway, it's not my scoop to give out. But so no Terrence Mitchell, no Malcolm Butler. So the veterans in the cornerback room are looking like what it looks more and more like this Jonathan Jones on the outside thing might actually like stick. That might be I thought maybe that would be the plan week 1. I saw that as a potential thing, but not like that is looking like that is the plan for them. And like again, so it looks like maybe Jack Jones is gonna be taking a slot role, maybe like a Sean Wade, a Miles Bryant, but so, Jonathan Jones might be your number 2 outside corner, which means that Jalen Mills is your number 1 outside corner. But God bless, but. Beyond that, the safety group is who you'd expect. I mean, it's McCourty, Adrian Phillips, Duggar, Jabril Peppers, Josh Bledsoe. Probably the best position group pound for pound on the team potentially. Those safeties. What are you gonna do? And then Jake Bailey, Nick Folk are the kickers, and then Joe Cardona is a long snapper for the millionth year in a row, and then Cody Davis, Brendan Schooler, and Matthew Slater, Hall of Fame special teamer, back for another year. So. Looking at what is currently the Patriots roster, which again, it's going to be two spots, Thornton and Montgomery both going to be off, and like at some point, it hasn't happened yet as of recording this on Wednesday night, but like those guys will be off, and it'll probably just be like JJ Taylor or Kevin Harris or somebody for Montgomery, and then some receiver to replace Thornton. I assume, maybe not, maybe they bring somebody in another position, but looking at the roster, how we feeling, Jordan? How we just initial. Next week is going to be our big, full season preview. We're going to pick games, everything. Going to talk about the Dolphins a lot next week. Not a ton of Dolphins chatter this week, but next week, let me tell you, it's out there. I was a portion of the base that's excited to hear about that, but what's your just initial... Look, again, not any huge surprises here, but how are you just seeing it all on paper now? How are we feeling?
Oh, man, this team is mid, the very definition of it. Nothing really good, nothing really bad, just a whole lot of average and subpar, and really subpar in the positions you don't want to be subpar in.
No, that's that's one of the things I've said about with this team. They have one thing that one of the things that might help that because some people have argued that maybe the game has passed Bill Belichick by a little bit. That's the thing. A tad. Some people have maybe not, right? Because we'll see it. We'll see how it works out. In the third year of a rebuild. But the argument some people have had, some naysayers, is that Belichick does, and he hasn't. This is emphatically true. This part I'm saying, I guess what has yet to be seen is how it will work. But Belichick has definitely not shied away, but has kind of not overly emphasized the positions that have at least come to us normies, that the contemporary opinion that the kind of the trend has been to emphasize. Which I would say right now, the positions that people really, really, really value in the NFL, really, really go after, teams really go after are your quarterbacks, your receivers, your corners, your edge rushers, and you look at this roster, those aren't really spots that the Patriots have put a premium at. Now there are spots that they have put a premium at. We talked about that. Safety, guard, guards, running back, tight end, D-line they keep taking shots at, but linebacker. The Patriots have continued to invest heavily at those. Now, mind you, there have been times when they've tried to invest in those other positions I talked about, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because maybe there's another angle to this. We'll talk about the drafting in a minute, because that kind of maybe adds, that maybe adds, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe there's a bit of a counter to everything I'm saying here, but the Patriots, Bill Belichick he's done his whole career, but really just the positions he's emphasized his whole career, the entire time he's been here. Besides the quarterback one, because they just happen to fall backwards into having the greatest player ever to play the position. But this is what they've done, and it feels stronger now, though, when you see the rest of the league, which has, again, quarterback salaries skyrocketing. It seemed like every other team this offseason was either trading for a number one receiver or trading their number one receiver and drafting another receiver in the first round. I think almost every playoff team did that, except for the Patriots, or it was a team that had done that a year prior. Like the Bills and Bengals have invested heavily at wide receiver in last season. Last offseason they didn't this offseason. But they haven't, and we've talked about this a lot, Jordan. This is something we've talked about, is that this season for the Patriots, for Bill Belichick, who maybe we can talk later about, like, I don't we want to do hot seat meter rating on Bill Belichick at some point if you want to, but this season really kind of is Belichick really building around himself a team, and not just a team, like a team, a coaching staff, the whole way the organization is structured, like a monument to everything he believes in, to an extreme degree, to like the greatest extreme degree of Belichick. Like, Belichick is the center of this. There's no Brady. There's not even any Josh McDaniels. Like, everybody on the coaching staff is either, we talked about this a million times, but again, we've talked about this a bunch, and everybody's talked about this a bunch. If you're sick of hearing it, I'm sorry, but what do you want me to talk about? It's training game. The games have almost started, I promise. We can get to them next week, but the coaching staff is either specifically people who are good friends of and extremely loyal to Bill Belichick, or spawns of Bill Belichick. And again, the roster really reflects really reflects the way that Bill Belichick, views the game of football, views what should be valued, views what you should emphasize as a team. And we're obviously down on the team. We'll do our exact projections next week. I think I'm a little bit higher on it than you are, Jordan. Mm-hmm. But either way, like, neither of us are sitting here thinking this is like the Patriots are about to have or we're due for a really, really, really exciting season. Like, when I say I'm high on the team, like, I say, like, I think they could possibly, like, repeat what they did last year and be a playoff team, be a fringe playoff team. But either way, like, won't damn it till it starts. But just that is what at least that is, to me, the narrative this season. Like, that is kind of the biggest thing this season, is just watching Bill, like, seeing if either, because again, a lot of these players are Belichick draft picks. I talked about, like, Perkins and McGrone and a couple of guys, and those guys aren't there anymore. But this team is relying on a lot of Belichick draft picks to pan out and play big roles, and for them to be as good as they need to be, then especially on the defense, they need a lot of their draft picks to pan out. Or just a lot of guys that, the Patriots have seemed to value more than other teams might, like a Jalen Mills. But that's the narrative this season. I mean, that's it. It has Belichick, fallen as great people, like great people who are great and the greatest, and some of the greatest people over some of the greatest heights in really anything, any profession, any field tend to do. Sometimes when they, a lot of these great minds get to a certain age, get to a certain point, they get too far up their own ass. They get too far up it, and it's just some of the collaboration, some of the in the end, this great person, they start believing it's all them, and they just start following their own instincts to a fault, and they block out other people, and they block out other voices, and that's how you go from Empire Strikes Back to Phantom Menace. But
I was literally comparing George Lucas to Bill Belichick.
And that's what I'm saying. What are we getting here?
To segue to it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, are we at the point where, like, George Lucas is just no longer collaborating with anybody? He is surrounded by yes men, like, singularly his vision, and you see the faults of that, what his limitations are on full display because he has nobody to help him compensate for them. And will that be what we have with the Patriots this year, or as has happened very often, for the Patriots, the Belichick truthers, or, and I can't completely rule this out, will this be another in a long storied history of we thought he was wrong, Belichick zigged when the league zagged, turned out to be right? I doubt it. That's not my call. We'll get to next week. We'll really dive in on it. I doubt it, but dumb podcast people. When they started, there weren't even podcasts, Jordan. When Belichick started proving people wrong, there weren't podcasts.
Yeah.
But Belichick has outlived mediums people use to criticize him. But that's it. If you want anything to sink your teeth and do this, if you're like Jordan, and it's how I got him back on board. If you don't see it, You don't get it. You're not excited. This roster doesn't excite you. The team doesn't excite you. The coaching staff doesn't excite you. Like, yeah, this is your thing. This is a hook. Like, this is Belichick he has broken himself down to his either a parody of himself or to his purest form. You know, the results will tell us what we're looking at. But that's besides, watching the development of the three Joneses, Mac, Jack, and Marcus. It's just a bunch of guys named Jones are the ones who are getting me through the season. Like that's your hook. That's your hook for this Patriots season. At least that's how I see it, Jordan. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. I'm sorry I stole your thunder on the George Lucas thing. It just kind of came to mind.
I was waiting. I had a whole elaborate scheme going for it. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
Will the 2022 Patriots season be the Phantom Menace or the Mandalorian?
It's not going to be the Mandalorian. I promise you.
You never know. A more scaled back version, but it's true to the roots of what made it great, and it's just something we can all enjoy.
Like it won't be the Bad Batch, it won't be the Clone Wars, it won't be the Boba Fett show. But
Boba Fett show was fine. Maybe last season was the Boba Fett show.
It's such a strange predicament because
wait, hang on.
Saying, like,
not to keep cutting you off. Are Mac and Jack Jones Baby Yoda?
Maybe.
Sorry, go on.
Maybe there's a lot of Joneses. Mac Jones, Jack Jones.
That's what I'm saying, and they're Marcus all that's Jones, keeping me going.
The Joneses yeah, but Bill Belichick has sort of succumbed to his own darker nature, and cronyism has infested the Patriots organization. But like you sort of said, is like you come to a point, you reach a point in time in your career where you just sort of get out of touch. You sort of become a Phil Jackson, or what we're seeing right now with the Spurs and Greg Popovich. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of like it's hard to dispute what you have done. Well, because you've accomplished so many great things, but it's just
I think this is
not working anymore.
Well, I still think this is like the last ride to prove whether or not he has gotten to that point. Because again, last season was a breath of fresh. Like, let's not overlook where last season was like the first year of like the rebuild being on the right trajectory. And I mean, besides how the playoff game went, but if you just pretend that was just a normal loss, if you just pretend that was a normal, like you come out of it feeling like good, like they spent a bunch of money, they got Mac Jones, most of their signings worked out to some degree or another, good, and then you get into this offseason. Like last offseason, totally like a completely different Patriots offseason. They spent a bunch of money. They spent at the top of the market. Nothing like we'd seen. They do a little bit of good. And then this offseason, it's like we're back to basics. Only investing at these positions that, are like Belichick's high-value position, which, by the way, go against the Jake Elmslie 4 golden positions. But that's besides the point. But we won't get into that right now. We won't get into my draft guide. If anybody needs me to help draft for their NFL franchise, let me know. I'm more than willing to. Besides a job where I'd like to either have a job where I can write roster predictions or build rosters. But I'll do either, Maybe I can do one and transition to the other.
It's like you look at the team and it's just like there's nothing here. It's so bleh.
But you see,
exciting. It's just guys that are just kind of good.
Well, that's always been hasn't it kind of been? I mean, not to say it's always been guys who are kind of good, but the Patriots have never like had super exciting looking rosters. Besides Tom Brady,
I think they've had a few years when they had exciting rosters.
Well, it's never been
like they've never been
2007 and Darrelle Revis was exciting. Darrelle Revis I was excited for, but
2010.
But Belichick has never emphasized the star though. But we're seeing here, like, this is it. This is, in a way, this is what Belichick wants. So, he doesn't have Brady. It's all about him. It's all about his, and it, like, if they're not good this year, then you really got to start thinking. They really got to start making some tough calls. And, this season
who is the best player on this team?
Matt Judon. I feel pretty strongly saying it's Matt Judon.
And Matt Judon ain't that good.
He was real good until he got to his weakness, which is the month of December.
There are many linebackers that would take over Matt Judon.
It's probably Matt Judon. Probably Matt Judon. It's my answer is probably Matt. Hope maybe it's Mac Jones after this year. I mean that's also the one thing too. I mean I will keep going back to this. Like everything we're saying doesn't matter if Mac Jones is suddenly like Joe Burrow this season, which I'm not saying is like hyper possible, but like also all of this suddenly goes out the window if Mac Jones takes like a second year leap, like a lot of these quarterbacks do. And is then suddenly like one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Then suddenly Belichick's a genius. We were haters, and they're fine, and they're cruising. But like that notwithstanding, because Belichick didn't want an all-time quarterback. Belichick, by his actions, by not re-signing Tom Brady, by trying the Cam Newton thing for 1 year, he clearly believes he doesn't need that. So, again, to keep my narrative going. Will, if that doesn't happen, we'll see. Like he's built himself either a monument to his ideology or a tomb. It's one of the two things, and that's the season, baby. That's what you got to look forward to, Patriots fans. That's what I'm gonna be watching for. What are your three key takeaways for the game this week, Jake? I want to see, will Belichick suffer for his arrogance? Or will he reassert himself? Those are my takeaway. Every game. Oh, and how are the Joneses doing? How are all three Joneses looking? How's Jack Jones looking in the slot there? That's my other one.
I am very invested in this cornerback core.
Oh, it's got
Joneses is.
They're good. Jonathan. They got Jonathan in there, who's a great slot corner, and we just got to hope that maybe a great slot corner transfers to being like an average outside corner. Is that asking too much? Probably. He's also only 5'11". He's not a big guy, that Jonathan Jones. So it might work against like the Tyreek Hills of the world. Not from like a quality perspective, but from a 5'10", excuse me. From a size perspective, but I don't know what they're doing when they got to play like some big dudes. So Jonathan Jones is a player I've always really liked. I've always been a real big Jonathan Jones advocate, but for what he has done in the past, not for like what they're asking him to do now. But yeah, those are kind of I just want to get like this whole spiel on tape at some point. But that's.
But Jake, imagine if they had a real stud corner to anchor their secondary that may or may not be on the Los Angeles Chargers.
They don't want to pay him because I don't know. I get like they don't want to pay him because. I guess they don't value it, even though literally every single Patriots Super Bowl has come when they've had an elite cornerback, but that's besides the point. They've never not had an elite cornerback when winning the Super Bowl, but that's besides the point. They didn't want Stephon. God, how do I get back into the Stephon Gilmore drama from last year? But yeah, no, I mean this is what they're doing. It's all about they invested in safeties though. They are deep at safety, but you see that and.
Can any of them play corner?
Kyle Duggar's pretty versatile, maybe. I think Jabril Peppers has taken a snap at corner at some point.
Because there's only so many safeties you can have on the field at one time.
But Adrian Phillips, versatile guy. We'll see. We'll see. They're good at finding creative ways to use the secondary, or they have been. Hopefully Steve Belichick, who's basically the defensive coordinator. We'll think of something. Scheme something up. Bill, be one of the young minds they have in there challenging Bill. But, that's it. I mean, that's your season, baby. This is what we're looking at. Maybe it'll work out. Maybe we'll all look like idiots. It's happened a million times before. I'm not even trying to rush to be the first one to call the downfall, but it's, what do you want me to do? I have to react to what's in front of me, I still see people on Twitter who are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Bill, we trust. Why even talk about this? You're all wrong. All trying to stir up drama. I got to react to what happened. And so far, preseason hadn't looked good. Joint practices.
They're in a 3-4 or 4-3 this year.
I believe it's a 3-4, but they are on a lot of nickel, my friend. Lot of nickel.
That's probably what they should be doing.
Oh yeah,
God, their personnel.
God bless them, honestly.
Get those linebackers off the field. They're just a liability.
Run the dime with just Matt Judon, baby. That's putting your best team on the field. Get all four Joneses on the field. Get all your, get McCourty, Phillips, Duggar. Run like a 3-7. Those are your best players. I mean, find a way to just get your whole secondary on the field.
Hey man, there's no thumpers.
There's no, but because they've youthened up that linebacking core a little bit, got some more youth in there, got some more speed. It's something I wanted them to do. So I mean, they did it. They did it. Like they didn't succumb to bringing Hightower or Kyle Van Noy back yet, which I think is a shocking display of restraint, honestly. Also did not end up bringing Trey Flowers back. Trey Flowers signed with the Dolphins. That, as much as I keep saying don't bring everybody back, I was pretty in on bringing Trey Flowers back. But alas, I guess I didn't want him. But we shall see. They need a lot of young guys to really turn it up. Like, because there are a lot of young guys on this roster. Like, there are a lot of second, third year players here. And if like some group of those guys, like if an Anferny Jennings or a Josh Uche or like a Barmore takes another step, or like one of these young corners is suddenly a guy like Duggar suddenly becomes something, like suddenly you have a defense like that. That's one of the saving graces for this team, is that you at least have that, like maybe, but, or maybe, they just have the best defense in the league for 12 weeks and then fall off in December like they have two of the last 3 seasons. But again, very well good. Maybe we're mid-October and they've had the best defense in the league for some reason, and I'm calling myself a hater, and then we're late December and I'm like, nope, I should have stuck with it. But that happened. But we talk about the young guys. The other thing I did want to reflect upon, this is just kind of a reflection I think we all have just occasionally, is and what spurred this on this time was the Monday, whenever it was, the release of Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi, who were both third-round picks in the 2020 draft, both tight ends, who they drafted for the Cam Newton season. They were both there for the Cam Newton season. Then they ended up last offseason when they signed when they signed Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. They didn't really play a lot, and now both guys are cut. And those are both third-round picks who, when you get into what teams want to do, typically the third round is right that sweet spot where it's not the end of the world if guys don't pan out, but you need, your team needs some third and fourth round picks to pan out in the long run. You need to be hitting on your draft picks, and that's an area where you need to at least be getting contributions. And it did kind of bring up the conversation that at least me and you, Jordan, have had a lot of times. Has been about how there were, in last year's draft, worked out pretty good. I'll preface all this with that. I'll say it first. Last year's draft, good. Mac Jones, good. Barmore, really good. The Ramondre Stevenson, pretty good. And that's 3 guys. That's 3 guys worked out good, decent enough draft class. But Cameron McGrone and Ronnie Perkins, we talked about them. But God bless, I tried to see the good in them. I tried to see the good in there somewhere. But either way, if you start to question, again, this is the thing I mentioned earlier about kind of countering, the Patriots aren't investing at these positions like wide receiver, cornerback. The counter to that is, if you start to ask where a lot of these holes on the roster kind of come in, if you look at the Patriots draft history from the last couple of years, which, again, this is not a new concept, but I did see a nifty graph of it on Twitter. So I made a nifty little graph. I don't know who, I apologize. They put on a nice little spreadsheet, and I love a spreadsheet, and it made it nice to look at and just remind ourselves. And this graph only goes back to 2018. I'll talk about 2017 too. 2017, they only had third and fourth round picks. 3 of them they completely whiffed on entirely. Only third and fourth. Third one, Derek Rivers never did anything. Antonio Garcia never did anything. Connor McDermott never did anything. Dietrich Wise still hanging around. Still pretty good player. Played 50% of their snaps on the defensive line last year. Fine, good fourth round pick. But now this graph goes into 2018, where again, if you start to try to find places where they have holes. 2018, and this is only first 3 rounds, picks in round 1, 2, and 3, which again are the areas where you really need to be hitting to build your team. Typically. But 2018 first round pick, Isaiah Wynn. That thumbs up pick, fine. I'll give you a yes on that as your left tackle. Well, that was your right tackle, but either way, fine. Sony, one of my favorite Patriots draft picks of all time was 2018 first round pick number 2, Sony Michel. Incredible pick. Love it. Won you a Super Bowl. Was not a waste in any way, shape, or form. They absolutely could not have gotten anybody else who could run into an open hole in the last chunk of that season. They definitely needed him more than they could have used Lamar Jackson. Shaquille Leonard now. He goes by Shaquille, by the way, now, Jordan, just to make sure you know. Darius Leonard goes by Shaquille now. That's his first name, apparently, the whole time. But, Cortland Sutton, Harold Landry, who I wanted them to draft. I was big on Boston College boy Harold Landry, by the way, and he has panned out. A DJ Chark, not Fred Warner. Oh, my God, he went later in that draft. He went in the third round, though, but still, Fred Warner's a bad man. But anyway, great pick, Sony Michel. Round 2, which, again, we talked about how they haven't really been investing in corners lately. Round 2, though, 2018, Duke Dawson. Never played a game. Again, this chart's very nice. It gives you a little snapshot of them to remind me. Duke Dawson never played. Again, and and this has been brought up a million times by everybody on the planet, but I'm going to bring it up. Like, going into this offseason, coming out of it, we keep talking about how, like, some of the big holes on his team are wide receiver, at least in terms of, like, they could use an elite wide receiver. They could use an alpha kind of number 1 wide receiver to kind of settle everybody in place. It's been wide receiver, cornerback, general linebacker, front 7, like outside presence there. 2019, your first 3 picks were N'Keal Harry, the greatest blocking wide receiver of all time. Joe Juwan Williams, who's on IR now. He's still, thank God for him, he got on IR, by the way, so he's still getting his full salary this season. Good for him, honestly. Picked a great time to get hurt. And then Chase Winovich, who was pretty good his rookie year and then just never did much of anything, and now they traded him for Mac Wilson, who got drafted like 70 picks after him in the same draft, who made the team, by the way, who might be one of these young, faster linebackers they need. But either way, not much there. And then after that, Damian Harris, who's good, but he's a running back. You can get good running backs anywhere. You get like half credit for me on a good running back pick in the 3rd round, which is still a little bit high for me for a running back, by the way, but whatever. Damian Harris had like 1 million touchdowns last year. Damian Harris is fine. And then Yodny Kajust, who has yet to play really much at all. But, yeah. I mean, if he had panned out, maybe you don't need to trade for a Trent Brown, but whatever, they did. And then 2020, Duggar, who's been good. Uche and Onferne Jennings, who both have been playing bit roles, who I think they need to, like, take a step forward this season for them to do what they want to do. And then Asiasi and Keene in 2020, who, again, they just cut. And again, Jordan, I don't know if your takeaway from that is the same, but every time I look at it, it's like, well, where are all the picks that they missed on? What positions are they at? And what just so happened to be the massive holes on this roster for the Patriots? And these are spots that Belichick has always struggled to draft at. I mean, they have perpetually had trouble drafting receivers, perpetually had trouble drafting cornerbacks. So I guess that is like the thing I would offer as a counter to my own point about them not investing at those positions. It's been more a matter of when they have tried to invest draft capital at those positions, it has very rarely panned out. Except for, let's talk about like a Julian Edelman in like the 6th round, but that's almost like, that's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. Like, I don't think you can make that being like, we're just going to draft this quarterback in the 6th round and he'll just happen to turn into, a guy who's probably not a Hall of Fame wide receiver, but a guy who you can at least talk. It's a fun conversation about what you weigh in Hall of Fame cases, but we don't need to get into the Julian Edelman Hall of Fame case. But I don't know. I feel the need to reiterate this every time, like, we look at this roster and go, wow, look at all these holes. How did that happen? Oh, why your quarterback room kind of bad? It's like, 2 years in a row you spent a 2nd round pick on a quarter, and neither of them ever did anything. Oh, you need an alpha wide receiver. Like, oh, well, you drafted the one wide receiver in the 2019 draft class who isn't like a top 10 wide receiver in the league. So, I don't know, Jordan. Do you have any big? I know this is a conference. I know this is like old stomped ground, but do you have anything to add on that one?
I mean, no. I just imagine the talent they'd have taken in the first round of this previous draft and still have drafted Strange Cole in the second or third round.
But, well, maybe Tyquan Thornton, baby. It's coming someday. Don't you even worry about it. Tyquan Thornton, baby. That was another thing. I was like, maybe that'll be a little thing to hang on for the season. Now we don't get that till like December when they're already on the downturn.
And also, I wanted to mention that you were upset at them drafting what's his face? Sony Michel.
Who, by the way, got cut by the Rams, but just got picked up by the Dolphins.
Got cut by the Rams, picked it up from the Dolphins, and you mentioned that you would have rather have them draft Lamar Jackson. And I don't see the difference between drafting one running back for another one.
You got him. For the record, me and Jordan
pay Lamar.
Me and Jordan both are. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Lamar Jackson a little bit later. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson now. We'll make that transition. So Lamar, we did want to talk about this a little bit because don't worry, because at least for me, it all comes back to something I actually like talking about. Like, this isn't like any kind of Lamar thing, but yeah, the Ravens are having some problems. Because Lamar Jackson is on the last year of his job. Of his contract. It's like the 5th year option. So after this year, like, he's done. Like, it's done. Contract's done. And him and the Ravens, because he doesn't have an agent, by the way, Jordan. Lamar Jackson does not have an agent. Have been trying to negotiate his contract, and it has not worked yet. And to a certain extent, I can pity any team that has had to negotiate with a court that has been in a negotiation with a quarterback in the last, say, what has been 2 months since we'll unveil the elephant in the room since Deshaun Watson and the Browns blew the quarterback market out of the water by giving Deshaun Watson $250 million fully guaranteed, which might be the first 5-year fully guaranteed contract either in NFL history or since, like, steam was the primary mode of rail transportation in this country. But, which, by the way, couldn't have happened to a better guy. Absolutely deserving. Don't want to take away from any of it. I don't want to sit here and blame, try and, force any form of accountability on Deshaun Watson. I mean, come on. Like, what kind of person would I be? What kind of, blue-haired snowflake liberal would I be if I tried to do that? But it kind of sucks a little. Like, for these teams, I mean, like, the market always goes up, and they don't get. I'm not going to pity the teams too much, but I mean, my God, did the Browns bungle this up for every other. Like, you saw Kyler. I mean, Kyler didn't get quite that, but didn't Kyler get like 235 and like, I think like 80% of that is guaranteed, like way more guarantees than we've seen guys get in the last couple of years. We've seen guys get before, and Lamar took to Twitter which this is a sign when something's going well. By the way, usually when a team and a player's negotiations are going well, that player usually ends up taking the social media about it. And here are a couple of screenshots just from Lamar Jackson's Twitter. Some guy tweeted. So Lamar Jackson, great move by him, is a league MVP and he still hasn't broken the bank. At Ravens, you're on that hot seat. Give that man the $250 million guaranteed before you write a check you're behind can't cash. This emoji, guy, which I use that emoji a lot, like the guy just like with both his hands up, kind of bent. I use that emoji.
Shrug emoji.
I use that emoji a lot. Because I'm very afraid of like how things I say come across over text. Texting stresses me out, so I use a lot of emojis to give my intent across a little bit better. Anyway, and then another guy replies, "He want more. They already offered him that." Guy blowing his nose emoji, and then out comes Lamar Jackson just saying, "No, they didn't." Which you can either interpret as one of two things. You can either interpret it as they have not offered him more than $250 million guaranteed, a.k.a. the Deshaun Watson contract. Or, number two, they have offered him that, but nothing more. I personally am choosing to take it as they have not offered him the $250 million yet, because I would have to imagine if they had just offered him that, he probably would have taken it. What one would assume that Lamar would take that. But it's still not a good sign that he's going on Twitter and arguing with dudes about it. And then next, the only other thing, which this is mega drama alert. This is mega me talking about things that probably don't matter. And it will not matter, by the way, in some amount of months when the Ravens eventually re-sign him. Because they, at least with quarterbacks, these things almost always get resolved. But he did, however, on his Twitter account, like a photo of him in a Dolphins jersey, where the guy tweeted, "You both can come and cry in Miami." Don't know who the other one is. Dolphins uni, tears of joy when we host the Lombardi. Which, again, this probably just ends up like every other time this happens with a quarterback. Like, remember a month ago, Kyler Murray was taking the Cardinals out of his Instagram bio. And with quarterbacks, at least, these things usually resolve themselves because teams usually just don't let quarterbacks go. Because what are the Ravens going to do? They're gonna pay him. like they might be like annoyed that they have to pay him more than they probably would have had to if the Browns didn't give Man of the Year Deshaun Watson $250,000, which you will get almost all of this season's salary because they were very kind and made most of this year's salary a signing bonus. So his impending suspension does not affect his money. Anywho. Yeah, but still, though, like, you don't want this going into the season if you're the Ravens. Like, this sucks. It's like one of the worst, especially since, again, it's not even like they had, like with Kyler Murray. With Kyler Murray, I didn't think they should have given him the money. The Kyler Murray extension, I was like, you still have him for 2 more years. Like, he's been up and down. Like, I say, at least just take 1 more year. Like, just give it 1 more year and just see what you have. Like, whatever, then sign him after the 4th year of the rookie contract. But with Lamar, like, he's done after this year. And you do, I don't think if you're an NFL franchise, me personally, dumb, stupid podcaster, does not think you want your starting quarterback, your MVP quarterback, who everybody likes, you seem to like, you've built the whole offense specifically tailored to him. Like you have, which maybe some people have argued is holding him back, but this is not the Greg Roman slander hour. But I say, maybe, you don't want you don't want this. Yeah, especially with Lamar. I mean, God. I mean, even talk about even we get into the way like Lamar Jackson plays. Like I would say, Lamar Jackson does quite a bit of running. Jordan, would you not?
Yes, he does.
And thusly puts himself in, more so than the average quarterback, situations where he's, maybe has to take more contact or he's putting himself at risk for more contact. Like, if anything, that's a dude you don't want to have wondering about his money. Because I mean, if you get to the season, there's like because now, by the way, every time you see a play, like you see Lamar on some kind of run, some kind of stretch or whatever, and you see a situation where a guy's coming down on him and he goes out of bounds instead of maybe cuts inside, I know what I'm going to be saying, Jordan. Maybe this would be wanting drama, but I know what I'm going to be saying, and that's, is Lamar kind of trying to protect himself there? Like leaving yards on the table because he doesn't have a contract. Like he hasn't made his money, which is right to. My God, you want to, is that 10 yards worth losing $200 million? And it's just, they are, unless they just don't like Lamar Jackson. Like maybe they just don't, maybe they are haters. Maybe the Ravens are haters. Steve Buccaretti is his name. His name sounds like some form of something you would find on a, oh God, I'm blanking. What are the charcuterie board? But
Buccaretti.
He's another strong Italian.
Right next to like the prosciutto. And
exactly.
The capicola.
Yeah, exactly. I got some bruschetta, got some capicola. We got a guy drafting a bunch of Alabama linebackers. Like, we got a lot of stuff here. We got all types of stuff here. I went to me and the missus. We went to a little class today. They show us how to put it together. It was a fun time. They have charcuterie board classes, Jordan.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, I've known a lot of people who go. That's a thing like your girlfriend says you should go to. But oh yeah,
I feel like it's a better money and time investment to just buy one.
Well, they like teach you how to do it. Yeah, then you like buy the stuff. Hey, a little bit of fun putting it together yourself. I don't know. There's probably an art to it. I don't mind me a good char. I like me some good sliced meats like cheeses. Oh yeah, I'm a big crackers guy. I love crackers. I can just eat like a sleeve of not even getting like good crackers. I can eat like a whole sleeve of like premiums premiums, like just a little. I can eat a whole sleeve of those, no problem. Like I can just sit down, and just be like, I didn't eat dinner today. I'll just house some premiums and call it a day.
Just feel all the moisture leaving your body.
Oh yeah, no problem. Just some premiums, and then like a half a thing of Crystal Light right next to me. Keep me alive, keep me going. Oh yeah, I can do that. I'm like, and now I feel nourished. I'm like, that's it. That's all I needed. Oh yeah, big crackers guy. Like even if like you go to like a place and have like a bad spread, right? Like it's like, it's like a grocery store one. It's like the grapes like aren't crunchy and like the cheeses are bad. I'll just eat the crackers, like the butterfly crackers. Oh my god! Like if I did maybe we'll do a crackers power ranking one time, but like the good.
It would just be Ritz #1.
Okay. Because it's like they're like the good butterfly crackers. There are two very distinct ones, and they're the ones that just are like really bitter. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. I don't know like what brand they are, like what the official name is, and if we have any like charcuterie enthusiasts, please let me know on Twitter at Jake R. Elmslie. But you have like the good butterfly crackers that like great texture, great taste, and then you have the ones that like they're bitter. I don't like really bitter things in general. That's why I don't drink coffee. I don't really like wine that much. Not a big wine guy. But yeah, I do not. I just really like the good butterfly crackers. And somebody else who likes good butterfly crackers, I would assume, is Steve Bucaretti, the Ravens GM. But I mean, the GM is actually Eric DeCosta. Who am I thinking of? Is that the Ravens owner? Hang on, who am I thinking of? No, it's the owner. Okay, it's Steve Bisciotti.
Biscotti?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Steve.
Yeah, come at me, Ravens fans. Let me know. It's another, whom I assume is another strong Italian-American, hardworking Italian-American. God bless him. Love you. But Eric DeCosta's their GM. Anyway, the point still stands. He was he's the one who has to write the contract for Lamar Jackson. So he's the one who actually has to pay the money. So he wants to join the Deshaun Watson hate train. I'll ally with it. Why not? But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So it's like it's like you just have this hanging over your team's head, and it's stupid. Just pay him. Maybe they'll pay him like tomorrow.
It's gotta pay that.
It's gotta pay him. They just gotta pay him. Like
you are nothing without him.
It's what you gotta do. Like what are you gonna do?
Bite the bullet. Give him the 270.
Yeah, reset the market again.
Whatever he wants.
Which, by the way, this is always like the one consolation I offer to any owner, team, fan base. Like, whenever your guy signs a record-breaking quarterback contract, you're like, oh my God, how are we going to afford anything now? So much cap space. In 2 years, it'll look like a deal. By the way, it's always my thing. In 2 years, it'll look like a bargain because the market will be reset again next year when Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert re-sign. And then it'll be reset the following year when, I don't know, newly minted MVP Mac Jones and Trey Lance sign new gigantic deals. The market, it always gets reset, so it'll be fine. It's why like the quarterback thing just feels automatic to me. It's housekeeping. You have to do it, and it will not bother you in 2 years. Now, one day maybe we can have the discussion of if having a quarterback paid at the top of the market is actually like a formula for winning a Super Bowl. That's a thing I think about a lot. Haven't finished forming my thoughts on that yet. That's a whole other thing. We will not have that conversation today. Anyway, one name I just mentioned as I just continue to just smoothly transition to everything today. Trey Lance. Me and Jordan talk about Trey Lance an inordinate amount.
A lot.
Like, I don't know why we talk about. Well, I know why I talk about Trey Lance a lot. Because Trey Lance helped me come to a realization that I'll get to in a moment. But so the 49ers, whom have been trying to trade Jimmy G, trying to move on from Jimmy G, trying to bridge the gap. Kyle Shanahan, he came out, said it like this is Trey Lance's team, moving on from him, trying to move Jimmy G. Have not been able to do so successfully, which I'm not surprised about personally. I mean, I can go back a month ago and lay out what the quarterback landscape looked a month ago, but for a long time, teams get set on their quarterbacks. And it really wasn't necessarily like a starting job out there for Jimmy G, except with like the Panthers, who wound up going with Baker Mayfield, which I can't fault them for. if I'm being consistent on takes, because I quite like Baker Mayfield. And then the Seahawks, who are in the division and maybe they wouldn't want to trade with. But the 49ers yesterday, the one thing I did not think was going to happen, reworked the deal with Jimmy G. Basically, like, gave him a raise, I think, basically. But either way, they reworked the deal where it has a bunch of incentives. They actually saved themselves about $13 million in cap, which is one thing I found out by doing this, because cutting him, they would have lost a bunch of money, but... And also, the amount of money he was making was also a reason probably wasn't going to be a thing. But either way, they basically reworked a new deal with him where he has about $6.5 million guaranteed. It can get it to 13 if he like started like every game and they won a bunch of games. But also, notably, because one of the first things me and you talked about was like, well, maybe like one of the good things you can do with this is like you at least can like hold on to him. And then like if somebody gets hurt, you can trade him there. Or like if a team just gives up on their quarterback. Like maybe the team gets real desperate. No trade clause, Jordan. I forgot to mention that he has a full no trade clause, no franchise tag clause. Yeah, really got a coup on getting that one, let me tell you. But either way, like, so Jimmy G will be a free agent, but they have brought back Garoppolo, which I don't love. I think is a suboptimal decision because as somebody who I don't necessarily believe in trade. Everything I'm about to say is theoretical. This is all just about philosophy of team building. This has nothing to do specifically with any true deep-seated belief I have in Trey Lance. However, I do quite like him for fantasy this year. And I have my fantasy draft tomorrow, and he's certainly one of my quarterbacks in the range of like where I think is acceptable to draft a quarterback. Anyway. My God, like, what are you doing? If you're the 49, like... And the one thing, right, the one thing that can happen in this situation that makes me look like an idiot is if Trey Lance gets hurt, Jimmy G is probably the best backup in the NFL. Like from that one perspective, that is one thing. Then fine, everything else I'm about to say is stupid drama alert, me trying to find a story where there isn't one. But yeah, you know, I don't know a lot about the mental makeup of Trey Lance. I am not Trey Lance's psychologist. I am not Trey Lance's psychiatrist. In fact, Jordan, you might not believe this. I have never even met Trey Lance.
I really don't believe that.
Never even hung out. Not even. We've never kicked it. However,
wow.
Just me personally, I would think that if you're Trey Lance, you're trying to establish yourself as a starter. The team is trying to establish you as a starter. Which they have said that you're their guy. Like Kyle Shanahan says before camp, like, this is Trey Lance's team. We're moving on to Trey Lance. We spent like 1 billion picks to get him. We just gotta do it. What he wants to do. We gotta do it, right? We're in on this now. This was the plan. Garoppolo had a year, you know, it happened, whatever happened. Having Garoppolo there cannot, and of course everybody came out and said, oh, he's a great asset, he's helpful. Can't be helpful for Trey. It cannot benefit Trey Lance in ways that having like Brian Hoyer there wouldn't. Without the added issue of So Jordan, what do you think people who cover the 49ers will now be saying every single time Trey Lance has a bad game now? Just give me your dumb podcaster drama stirring, making things up, Jordan. What do you think maybe people will be prone to say now?
I think there'll be a lot of calls in Santa Clara for the hard-nosed vet Jimmy Garoppolo to step back in on the gridiron and take the reins from the young buck Trey Lance.
I think you're making that up and fabricating that, but fine. Everybody's locked in good steps, Jordan. But thank you for that. Thank you for offering me the dramatic media man opinion. But it's like, from a purely like all on paper best roster moves, this is the best version of your quarterback group is the one where Jimmy G's your backup, right? Obviously. He's better than any backup you're going to bring in. At the very least, he's better for you than any backup you're going to bring in. The Jimmy G thing works. I want to talk about it in a second. Just my general thesis on Garoppolo and the Trey Lance situation, because it's changed dramatically in the last year, and that's kind of the main reason I even want to talk about this. But on paper, this is the best thing, right? Obviously, like, In every other sense, though, unless specifically they're doing this to play keep away with the Seahawks. That is the only other, like, very fair, plausible thing I have seen. It's like, well, if you cut him, the Seahawks are like the one team that really could use a starting quarterback that might want one, and he would fit in there, and then he's in your division, and then you got to play him, and maybe you're just paying the $6 million to guarantee you face Geno Smith or Drew Lock 2 times this year, which, you know what? Maybe that's worth it. But you don't have Jimmy Garoppolo practice all off. He didn't practice at all. He was hurt for some of the offseason, but he was basically cleared to play by, like, early, mid-ish August. So he could have been practicing, but he didn't even practice. Because either he didn't want to practice, he was looking for a trade, or you were looking to trade him. But either way, you don't have him working with the team, so he's not the best version of himself. You still bring him back now, and now you're just adding another unnecessary burden to Trey Lance, whom, again, I'm not saying I believe in. But I am saying that they have every reason to need to believe in. Because they kind of need this Trey Lance thing to work out. And again, the main reason I want to talk about this is that I just kind of wanted to I've given Jordan the spiel 100 times. But it's a spiel I like giving, and it's a spiel I wanted to get to pay. But it's been the day of spiels, is what today's show has seemed to be. I always start the show thinking we're going to go like 25 minutes, by the way, Jordan. Last couple weeks I've been like, I don't have like anything. I should like put more effort in the record, like prepping. Oh, God. Which I put a lot of effort into prepping. I should be doing prep like all week for this. I'm an idiot. I'm not trying. We're going to have like 20 minutes, whatever. This will be fine next week. We're like an hour deep. We're not even halfway through everything we have. Anyway, so I didn't anticipate the charcuterie board talk, the astrology talk. That was just all natural, off the cuff chemistry. That was not on the rundown. But the Jimmy G thing. Just give my whole snapshot on this Jimmy G Trey Lance thing. Last year, like 14 months ago, however long ago the 2021 draft, it was longer than 14 months ago, like however many months ago. Flash the 2021 draft. Me and Jordan both, not to speak for you, my friend, thought that the 49ers trading, 3 first-round picks, or whatever it was, to trade up to get Trey Lance was moronic. We both hated it. I was like, Jimmy G, I mean, come on. I was still kind of in my, like, you can succeed with, like, a kind of average, above average quarterback phase. I was still in that phase of my life where I still kind of believed in that. And I thought it was moronic. I was just, I was like, what are you going to do? Like, it's just stupid. What do you do? You're wasting so many, like, Kyle Shanahan is arrogant. I go through these random bouts of just not liking Kyle Shanahan for various reasons. It all stems back to the Falcons Super Bowl. But I was all not in on the Trey Lance thing. Nothing to do with Trey Lance. Just wasn't into the philosophy behind it, to the whole thing. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was going to be the doom of the 49ers as they are currently constructed. But then we get to the playoffs. And I wound up watching every 49ers playoff game this year. I watched the Dallas game because, why wouldn't I? Absolute comedy of errors. Neither team wanted to win that game. Atrocious. Stupid football on both sides. Packers game, watch it because I like to see maybe Aaron Rodgers get embarrassed. Nobody really scores a lot in this game. Rams game, they do nothing in the fourth quarter. It's a pretty tight game. 49ers, big egg in the fourth quarter. And I watched it, and I came around to, at the very least, I see it now. I've watched these games. Garoppolo is not going to elevate this team. Garoppolo is not, and they've had a lot of success with Garoppolo. But you look at it, the NFC Championship game, the year they went to the Super Bowl, Garoppolo threw, I believe it was 7 passes in that game. Not Garoppolo. Fourth quarter of that, did they even score in the second half against the Chiefs in that Super Bowl? It was something like offense just completely flat when they needed to go flat. And after seeing another round of playoffs, I'm like, okay, like, I get it now. Like, on this hand, just purely Garoppolo, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Garoppolo. Because remember, this time, last year, before the Patriots drafted Mac Jones, I was advocating for the Patriots to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. I was all in on that, but I saw it. I'm like, okay. And plus the injury thing also. I mean, that's also part of the Jimmy Garoppolo thing, but don't even need to talk about that. I got it. I'm like, okay, I get it. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, this Trey Lance thing, like the idea behind it, the idea of recognizing that you have this quarterback, you have a good quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. Not really top 10, maybe on there if you're generous, but like a good, stable quarterback. To have that and recognize that that's not going to get you where you want to go. Take your very talented, your well-constructed team with a lot of talent where you want to go. It's not going to work, and that you need to go find some way to get more, elevating play, dynamic play, elite play, however you want to describe it, out of the quarterback position. To be able to recognize that and then act upon that is not easy, because in the NFL, obviously, like, teams cling to anything resembling representative quarterback play that they can get, because it is hard to find that. It is hard to get a Jimmy Garoppolo. It is hard to get and I'm going to list some names here, Jordan. It is hard to get an Alex Smith, an Andy Dalton, a Jared Goff even. Hard to get that kind of production out of quarterback, let alone elite play. But I've come around to doing that for the most part, to win in the NFL, to really win a Super Bowl, you almost always need elite quarterback play. And that the teams that have, for the most part, at least I'm citing the examples now, you've seen it in the last couple of years, the teams that have done that, the Chiefs, who recognize that Alex Smith is good. I used to be a big Alex Smith guy. Again, I used to be all in on, like, just have a kind of good quarterback, you can win. I used to be all in on this. I used to be in on, like, the pretty good, not great quarterback. Like an idiot. I think I'm an idiot for that now. But the Chiefs recognizing, and this is obviously the biggest example, but the Chiefs recognizing Alex Smith, he's good. He's not great. We've been in the playoffs. I think we made a conference title game. Like, this is good, but it's just, we are, like, at the ceiling of where this guy can take us. And it's just, the ceiling is hard. Our heads are up against it. We have to do something. And so we're going to go out, and it's even hard to recognize this as a risk now, but you go back to it. We're going to draft this guy. We're going to trade up, trade a future first, trade other stuff. Go get this guy, Patrick Mahomes, who's not seen as the premier quarterback in this draft class. Needs a lot of work, one of these, like, spread offense guys, never been under center, all the things you read, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But very dynamic, very talented, a lot of athleticism. We're going to try that. We got to try something. We need something, so we know we're going to start the clock on moving on from the Alex Smith thing. It's not like they got rid of Alex Smith immediately, and Alex Smith actually had a really good season that year, but
made the Pro Bowl that year.
He did. He was great that year. That was Alex Smith's best year there. But they still were like, all right, like we're sticking with our plan, and they did. And Patrick Mahomes. I mean, and similarly, then you have the Rams, Jared Goff, who I always hated, by the way. I will state this. I will put that on the record. I always detested Jared Goff. I thought Jared Goff sucked. I never thought Jared Goff. Alex Smith I liked, and Alex Smith was good. I don't think anybody disagrees with Alex Smith being good. The thing I disagree with now is saying that Alex Smith was good enough to win you a Super Bowl. But Jared Goff I always thought sucked. But nevertheless, there were people that didn't. And the Rams were at the very, like, they were winning with Jared Goff. Again, they made a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. They were successful with Jared Goff. They were able to make him work within their system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The boundless brilliance of Sean McVay and all of his spawns, who are now every other head coach in the NFL besides Bill Belichick specifically. But they recognize it, and they go, and I'm not saying Matt Stafford is Patrick Mahomes, but they went and got a significant upgrade at quarterback when they didn't have to. They didn't have to go trade for Matt Stafford, but they recognize it. They took kind of a gamble. They went out and got him. Yeah, and well, look what happened. What a Super Bowl. And then, the less strong example, but I'll still cite it because I like things to come in threes. The Bengals kind of did this after they bottomed out. It's not like the Bengals did this, while they were in, like, their run of making the playoffs a couple years with Marvin Lewis. But still, they had Andy Dalton, who was fine for years, and they still went like, He's fine. He's like the barometer for average quarterback. Let's try this Joe Burrow thing. And what happens? 2 years in, the Bengals, Jordan. The Bengals make a Super Bowl. And I saw all this. I mean, 2 of these happened in 1 year, but I saw all this. I thought about the Mahomes thing. I thought about a lot of other situations. And I just came to the conclusion that I can't not appreciate the 49ers thinking with the Trey Lance thing. Because Trey Lance is another guy, if you go back and read the scouting reports, very raw, needs polish, but super athletic, really good arm strength, really dynamic, like could be a really dynamic player. And you read that, and it's like, okay, like they recognized it, and they are trying to move on. Now, of course, Jordan, this, like all moves, and anything you do, regardless of philosophy on it, comes with the caveat of, if Trey Lance is bad, then ha 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 ha, dumb 49ers, you spent all those picks on him. Oh my God, what a disaster. However, I'm just recording it. I'm putting it, live in memoriam on the internet forever, that if that does happen, I will not criticize the thinking. I will not come on here and say like, oh yeah, idiots should have just stuck with Jimmy G, which I guess they're still sticking with Jimmy G, but he should have just stuck with Jimmy G, idiots. Come on, he would have won you a Super Bowl. Like, I just am saying that I respect the process. That's the main thing. I just want to get that because I've been telling Jordan that like once. I've been giving Jordan that rant like once a month for like a year now. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of me changing my viewpoint on kind of what you need to win in the NFL, like at like the highest high level. So yeah, that's my whole take on the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo debacle bungle, which is also, Jordan, you know, New England sports talk staple, baby. More Jimmy G drama, give it to me. Jimmy G's been giving us fellas fodder since 2014. Never dies.
And then, of course, as I always say in response to all these examples, that it's a proper risk versus reward type of thing. I agree with you, the philosophy. You know, the Alex Smith thing worked, the Joe Burrow thing worked, although I think Alex Smith was in a way better spot than Andy Dalton was.
Oh yeah,
I kind of forgot Andy Dalton started like 7 years. Or
oh yeah, the Bengals thing is a stretch. Oh, that one's a gigantic stretch, but you know I'm just using
Andy
it.
Dalton was like, oh, he's all right, he's a guy, he's okay.
That's the first point I'll concede. That's the first point I'll concede. That one barely works, but you know, they're in the Super Bowl. They were there. God bless the Bengals.
But my problem with Trey Lance, you know, aside from the fact you've been hearing about accuracy issues, he's on one day, off another day, but it's even moving besides that, because that could just be nervousness. He can just come on week 1 and like none of that stuff matters. Like when the lights come on, he'll just be gangbusters. If I can bring that term back into saying, because I really love it.
Oh, I love saying but I say it all the time. Have you never noticed that?
Nah.
Oh, I say gangbusters all the time. I say that all the time. That's a word I use a lot. So I feel like I use it a lot.
But if you look at Trey Lance, dude played like 4 snaps at North Dakota State, and that's slight hyperbole, but not really. Didn't play much in college.
Just like Josh Allen.
He didn't play much last year, and it's just like it was. I mean, I agree with the philosophy. If you can get an upgrade, if you can get an edge, you get the edge. But I am not certain Trey Lance was that guy.
Oh, you can't be until you see it. Like, you can't possibly be certain until you see it. Again, this is nothing to do with Trey Lance specifically. It's just he's a good.
I wouldn't advocate giving up so much on that risk.
No, like, probably
I don't want that to be the default. That's sort of my issue around it.
The move
might, because if it was just like 1 pick, then it's like fine, whatever.
I get it.
But
I get it.
3 picks, considering the quality of the last draft classes.
Oh, they're putting themselves
coming draft classes.
They're putting themselves on the line here. Like they
you could have got some real good players with those picks.
But again, you know, what does it matter if you don't have the quarterback? Like, what does it matter? You know,
well, Jake, you know, a wise man also telling me that you need to build the team before you get the quarterback.
Obviously, they already have the team. They already have the team, Jordan. Like, they have a team that was in the NFC Championship. Like, They just got to hope that, like, you know, I don't know. I mean, they got to hope it's Patrick Mahomes, basically. But, you know, that's a tall order. But, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to touch on that a little bit. I just wanted to get that going. But, I mean, you know, how much other stuff do we even want to do? Jaron Duran is sad. Jaron Duran did an article with Chris Castillo about just all his mental health struggles and how he wants people to know he cares and is trying really, really hard. And, you know, God bless him. God bless him. He's not trying. I'm glad he's in AAA, but, you know, God bless him. I hope producer Derek's enjoying seeing him. But, you know, God bless. We respect mental health struggles on this program. But, you know, I also, you know, I hope he's not using it as an excuse. But, you know, that's happening. The Matt Ariza situation
has made some of the worst plays in baseball I have ever seen.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Oh, it's unreal. He's like, I'm trying really hard. I'm like, it's really hard to believe you. The effort's like the biggest complaint about you. Like,
yeah. Like if you miss the ball and you run after it, it's like, okay, you know.
Yeah, you're learning.
But I've seen you lose the ball, let it roll into center left, and have, you know, Verdugo run all the way across the field. And let Tapia get inside the park grand slam. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Jordan's outlook on life was changed being at the 28-3 slaughtering in a lot of things. Jordan's a changed man ever since then.
I am like that fundamentally changed me.
But that's happening. The Matt Ariza situation. I don't even know if I really want to touch on it. I want to touch on it to this exact degree. That so if you don't know, this came out a day after we recorded yesterday when I posted the episode last week. Because again, I posted a day after we record. The Bills punter who they drafted in the 6th round this year, Matt Ariza, that a lawsuit was pending, where he is facing allegations of very, very well substantiated allegations that while he was at San Diego State University, you know, him and his friend, him and 3 other gentlemen, you know, I don't have a better term, but they gang raped a 17-year-old just to top it off. Just add some chimneys to that crime Sunday. But and to the Bills' credit, you know, 3-4 days later they cut him. However, the thing I just want to acknowledge, kind of to counter that, or to just, you know, alongside that, is that according at least to Tim Graham of The Athletic, this is his exact tweet from the 25th, which I believe was the day that this was an LA Times article. Same day came out. Sources tell me that the Bills were made aware of the accusations against Ariza last month, so about July. They did not know when they drafted him, but they did know when they cut Matt Hack on Monday. Because the silly thing is, when you look at the timeline of this, they were having him compete with Matt Hack in camp, which he was probably always going to make the team because, I mean, they drafted him in the 6th round. You usually don't draft a punter and then not have him make the team unless he's atrocious. But on August 22nd is when it was reported that Matt Ariza had won the job and they had released Matt Hack. And then the 25th was the day that this came out, that there was a lawsuit pending, because there are no criminal charges yet. There are none. But I did a little bit of a deep dive on it, and at least to me, reading the quotes from this poor girl. This poor girl. It seems like the police department there in San Diego or LA is kind of just dragging their feet, and that might have been what encouraged her to make the criminal charges, which is also to say that this is not a matter of, like, it has not been thrown out. There still could be criminal charges at some point down the line. This isn't over, but apparently, like, the university, like, waited 7 months to, like, let them investigate, or what? Just another horrific example of the justice system not serving, you know, people who are victims of sexual violence. But, you know, because originally I was like, oh, the Bills cut him. Well, that's good. Look at that. They jumped right on it. No problem. And I read maybe they knew about it, which then my next thought was, oh, man. The sports teams, they don't let anybody in. They don't have any morals. But then in thinking about it, like, after I read the tweet before the show, I did kind of come to the thought that that's, you know, being made aware of accusations is very vague. And that, again, to, like, defend the Bills could mean that they weren't actually given, like, the full report. Because if you read this full report, like, the dude did it. Like, they have rape kits. They have him on the phone. Like, he admits that, you know, they did stuff. They did stuff with this girl. But, again, the fact that the Bills cut him 3 days later, I think, tells you that, you know, he most likely, like, whatever they read was very compelling. Whatever the Bills got was very compelling. But, you know, maybe like what they were told, like when it was them being made aware of accusations, was far less severe or far less damning than what they eventually found out. But yeah, I don't know. I felt the need to acknowledge that a little bit because it is something. A punter. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know, Jordan. You have any thoughts on that one?
I mean, I really hope that the Bills just didn't sit on this information hoping that it would go away and that no one will ever find out about it. I certainly hope that's not the case. But...
Yeah, you gotta hope, right? And again, like the second they didn't try and stop it, like they I would assume if they're cutting another guy for, like, how is Matt Hackfield, who they did not bring back, by the way. The only reason I even remembered to talk about the story is that about 5 minutes before we started recording, I got the Schefter update that they signed Sam Martin, who's a punter, to be their punter. But yeah, no, that's a tough one. That is.
Yeah, I just hope that woman's okay, or
she's probably not.
She can be. And Matt Ariza needs to go sit down behind some bars for a couple of years.
But you know, oh, by the way, everybody else who was involved admitted to it. Like all the other 3 dudes, all basically like it happened. This happened.
Yes, he did it.
If you read this, it's not. You got it's one of those ones you got to really read on it. But once you read on it, you're like, oh yeah, no way. No way. But that we just want to touch on that one quick. And then the last thing we'll do today. Unless you want to like talk about Nebraska, but otherwise, so we've talked before.
Don't kick an onside kick when you're up.
All right, there we go. Great. You know, how's their defense though?
I mean, not good enough to stop Northwestern.
You know, so. is that the ballsy move though?
It's
funny. It's funny.
It's a little bit too outside the box.
But so LeBron James did a interview with Sports Illustrated the other day where it was a big article, and the article not really worth reading. I gotta be honest. I read the whole thing looking for something, but it's just talking about how good of a father LeBron is and how good of a husband LeBron is and all this stuff. Which God bless him for it. You know, and reportedly everything you read, great husband, great father. You know, you kind of know about it because he tells you how good of a father he is. But whatever, whatever. Good stuff. You know, who has been out there for a while that he said that he wants to play with his son Bronny, who's entering his senior year right now, is currently a 4-star recruit, not a 5-star recruit. But apparently, in his article also, he started talking about how he also kind of wants to play with his other son, Bryce, who's 15. Which is to say that how long does LeBron want to play for? But the quote he says, I'm looking at who's got first-round picks in 2024, 2025, things of that nature, 2026, 2027. Lakers have a 2027 pick. I pay attention to that kind of stuff. Which he said it by which again.
These Lakers 2027, 2029 picks are going to be the death of us.
We'll talk about them ad nauseum, Jordan. I can't wait for 2029 to come and see what team picks with that 2029 pick. That player's going to be the best. That player's going to be a stud. I'm betting it now. Whoever gets drafted with that the storied Lakers 2029 unprotected first round pick is going to be crazy. It's going to be like me somehow. Somehow we're going to be picked by the by the fabled Lakers 2029 first round pick. It'll be me and you specifically for sticking with it all this time. But so the Bronny thing has been really interesting because the Bronny, if it's cause even the article talks about like it's like he hasn't like even committed to wanting to be in the NBA, like, and also like he's good, but he's like 6'2", he's only a 4-star at the moment. Like, he's not, you know, if he like maybe grows or something, but like, he's not, you know, again, like, he's not like Bronny James is not like an elite prospect in terms of like, you know, the best of the best. But it's but see, the fact he's not even great makes it even more interesting, because it will become a matter of like, when it's Bronny, which we've talked about before, it will be like, you know, will a team overdraft him to some degree? Like, if he's projected as a second rounder, which is currently what people say, but obviously it's 2 years away, but he'll be drafted at least. But like, will a team maybe take him at the bottom of the first, thinking that they'll be able to get LeBron for cheap? Like, if he's serious about this, because he said he'll play for any amount of money. Like, if a team goes like, well, if we use like the 28th pick, we get LeBron on the mid-level exception. So like, do we do that? Like, it'll be a very interesting situation. Or he'll play esports. Apparently he's a very big esports guy, Bronny James. That's another thing I learned from this article. I learned a lot about the Jameses. It's a very long article. Apparently he's got a stake in like some esports teams. A big Valorant guy. You know, maybe he can become the LeBron James Jr. of Valorant. But
you want to play some Valorant after this?
No.
Good call.
Yeah, me, you, and my buddy Bronny. But, which, by the way, he even talked about it. He's like, I never wanted to be LeBron James Jr. I waited till I found a good nickname, which was a astounding branding decision. An astoundingly astute branding decision by Bronny, by the way. Much, much better. Like, close so you remember who he is, but you don't want to just be walking around being LeBron James Jr., because then anything you do, you're LeBron James Jr. Terrible idea. But it'll be fast. Like, assuming LeBron's still good in 2 years, which he probably will be. He'll probably somehow be better than he is now. But that's interesting. And then he's adding Bryce into the mix. Bryce, like, at the earliest, could be in the NBA in like 4 years. Which, by the way, again, he's like, you know, he's 15. Like, I'm not gonna. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if LeBron's trying to hang around the NBA for 4 years just to wind up playing with his kids. But he even talks about it. He's like, well, you know, like, everything else is out of my control. But that's like a good when you get old, it's all about the mentals. You know, when you get to this age, it's all about the mental stuff that keeps you going. It's not even about the physical stuff. He's like, and like, that's something I can like have as a flag to like shoot for. Anything else is kind of like, you know, titles, scoring titles, they're kind of out of your control. But this is something I can astutely go for. He also talks about one other thing he says in his, maybe I like this article more than I thought, but another thing he mentions is he says like, yeah, no, when Tom Brady retired, that like took a lot out of me. He's like, that hurt me, but then he came out of retirement and gave me the boost I needed.
He said, if Tom's hanging it up, it might be my time.
Yeah, he's like, oh, like, maybe like I'm not long for this world either. I mean, fair enough.
That's reasonable.
If you're LeBron, you're like, oh, Brady's doing it, I can keep doing it. Brady stops, you're like, oh, what am I? Who am I in this world? What's my identity? Who am I but a man? I'm a billionaire. Why am I still doing this? If Brady doesn't want to do it anymore. Which I did not realize LeBron was officially a billionaire.
Yeah, he is.
But
yeah, billionaire.
Do you think LeBron's going to play 4 more years so he can play with Bronny and Bryce? Again, do you think Bronny and Bryce, because this is the other thing I keep bringing up, do you think Bronny and Bryce want to play with him? Because honestly, me personally, if I made it to the NBA when I was 19, the last thing I'd want to do is hang out with my dad every single day. You know, me personally.
I mean, the Bronny thing is definitely reasonable. Like you said, he's a 4-star recruit. I think I was reading somewhere he's like he's like mid to low 30s.
Yeah, again, he's not 30s, like he's like a
top 100.
He's like fringy guard prospect. But
yeah, he's decent. Like he I don't know if he can make it at a Duke, but like maybe
they
like
offered him when he was 11.
Huh?
They offered him when he was 11.
Oh.
But I read that like the favorite is Oregon, but again, it doesn't matter, right? It's not even about like how good Bronny. Like if he wants to go to the league, assumedly he'll be able to go to the league because some team wants to get his dad on the cheap.
But I mean, with proper load management, because you know LeBron James, he simply, you cannot expect LeBron James to play 82 games a season. It will not happen. Sorry to tell you, Laker fans.
And it's probably not intelligent to have him play those 82 games.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Like, have him play like 60 and then go full tilt for the playoffs. But like with proper load management, I mean, I see no reason why he couldn't play 4 years in a limited role.
You see, well, that's the thing. I just never.
I guess like the problem is like, do you want to see LeBron James like coming off the bench, only playing like?
Well, that's what I've always said.
I
always have said that like I feel like once I don't think LeBron would ever go like the route. I don't really think any of the superstars now. This thing I've started talking about a lot. Like I think like maybe like a lot of like the modern superstars won't have much of a reason to hang around like when they're past their prime, like the degree where they're just like role players on another team. Like if you're LeBron, if you're Curry, like even if you're like Durant, like you have like, you know, other stuff to do. Like then like hang around.
Like Paul Pierce stuck around.
Yeah, but that's like
to that extent, and it was kind of sad because it's like,
well, Melo's still hanging around, but even that's
Melo,
like,
Melo too,
well, I was gonna say like Melo's a different generation, but he's not. But like LeBron's still at like the peak of his game, you know. Like LeBron averaged 30 last year, 3-0.
Yeah, and Melo's like, dude, just.
Oh no, Melo's a good little role player. Well, see, maybe we'll talk about my Melo Russell Westbrook. You know. God.
That's a nasty team.
Comparison someday. That's a whole thing. That's a whole different. That's for another day.
Comparisons. That just meant like on the Knicks together.
No, that's a whole other thing. Oh, they should bring Melo back to the Cavs. To the Lakers. Melo's fine. Melo just shoots some threes to some points. No problem with Melo being on the Lakers. Hang out with your buddy Melo, but stay on the banana boat. But I mean, my God, like. If you're a team, do you even really want to have LeBron and his two sons? That almost sounds kind of annoying. I mean, at least for a college team. Oh, whatever college team he's on is gonna have a horrific time. Like what's gonna happen the first time like the coach does something LeBron doesn't like with Bronny? Like if it's not an NBA team, it's fine because like whatever team LeBron's on, he's the coach of anyway. So that's whatever. But whatever poor college coach gets Bronny is, you know, it's gonna be worth it for the program. It's gonna be well worth it for the program from like every level of marketing. But my God,
in Bronny's defense, kid seems like he has a really good head on his shoulders, and that will serve him well.
Oh, came across good. Was like I don't even know if this is what I want to do yet. Kid's got every opportunity in the world. God bless him. God bless Bronny James. You know, La Junior over here. But you know that's it. Anything else for the people, Jordan? That's the end of the show.
Russell Westbrook still bad. Buy him out. All
right. Well, that'll do. You know, again, check me out, Jake R. Elmslie on Twitter. Check out J. What's your Twitter again, Jordan? I forget every week.
My Twitter and Instagram, true_world_king.
Follow us both on TrueStar, on CoStar. Follow us, friend us both there. That's where we put our spiciest sports takes, the hidden ones, the hidden gems. But we'll see you all next week. Oh, check out the show on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, The Stadium Experience with Jake Elmslie. Check out the TikTok, _stadium_experience for little videos that are both highlights from this and other little videos that I make during the week. You know, have a good one, everybody. See you next time. Bye.